Burglars crashed through the front door of a local store. Details on the crime are ahead. Also, gas prices dipped below $1.90 in one Wiregrass town. And Thomas, the mercury took a dip in the area today as well.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't that warm outside, and it also was gloomy. Clouds have just been sticking around all day. But will that finally change as we head into the end portions of the week? I'll let you know in your forecast coming up.
From your hometown news leader, this is WTVY News 4 at 5.
Some local residents spend their morning with law enforcement officers. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Reginald Jones.
And I'm Natasha Chugtai. Thanks for joining us for News 4 at 5. Conversation was as strong as the coffee this morning. For Coffee with the Cop, the event was sponsored by the Dothan Police Department and is aimed at bridging the gap between officers and the community they serve.
And people from across the Wiregrass showed up in Dothan to build a better relationship with police. News 4's Cynthia Washington joins us in studio with more on this. Cynthia?
That's right, Reg and Natasha. Officers say for many people, the only time they see police is when they're being pulled over or when crime happens in their neighborhood. But this time, it was a chance for them to shed some positive light on officers. Aaron Ellison made a trip from Marianna in order to participate in Coffee with a Cop, crossing state lines from Florida to Alabama. It's a decision he made after becoming a victim of crime.
I've had a serious problem where my house was broken into, and I just want to get my property back. And unfortunately, my property made it to Dothan, and it's been bought and sold. And just to make a long story short, and it just brings tears to my eyes for what I had to put up with.
Although he says it doesn't look like he'll get his items back, it's giving him peace of mind just knowing that the police makes an effort to solve every case.
They don't look down on you because where you're from.
While some came to the event to get police assistance, others came for a different reason. Connie Markendorf's uncle is a retired Chicago police officer, and she wanted to show her appreciation.
I came because I respect them. They're out there to protect us, and the least I can come and do is come by and say thank you.
Sergeant Maurice Eggleston says since his program launched years ago, he's seen an increase in neighborhood watch groups.
You know, you have so many that have sprung up throughout the city that everybody is quick to watch out for one another now. And this right here is just a culmination of all that, where now we can kind of recruit more of our Citizens Observer programs.
Sergeant Eggleston also says in some areas in Dothan, they've seen a zero crime rate as a result of officers to neighbor relationships. Reg?
Cynthia, thanks a lot. Now, residents also gave suggestions to police. One woman thought it would be a good idea to introduce a program called Ice Cream with a Cop. It would target middle and high school students to help them get to know their police officers.
More than 2 weeks after police fatally shot a suspect at the Dothan Animal Shelter, his family is now speaking out. Robert Lawrence was shot and killed on December 30th. Police say it all started when he refused to show ID at the shelter. This afternoon, we sat down for an exclusive interview with Lawrence's mom. On News 4 at 6, you'll hear what kind of person she says her son was and why she believes the media is wrong about him. The Dothan Police Department needs your help tonight. They're investigating a burglary at Dothan Power Sports. It happened Sunday morning between 3 and 4 a.m. The suspects were caught on surveillance video. They got away with 4 motorized dirt bikes. The suspects are believed to be all male. If you can identify any of them, call Crime Stoppers at 793-7000. An early morning smash and grab at a Houston County convenience store lands 2 people in jail. It happened at the Hobo Pantry on Highway 52 East around 2 o'clock this morning. Police arrested 1 suspect at the scene. A second suspect ran into the woods but was arrested a short time later. The suspects are 32-year-old Justin Elmore and 31-year-old Horst Klempner. Both are charged with third-degree burglary. Bond has not yet been set.
The Washington County Sheriff's Office is looking for 2 missing teenagers this afternoon. 15-year-old Felicity Nix has been missing since last night. She was last seen around 10 p.m. on Gallagher Drive. She was wearing pajamas and a gray jacket. Felicity is 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighs 155 pounds. She has brown hair and hazel eyes. 14-year-old Isabella Wood is also missing. She was last seen on Auburndale Drive around 10 o'clock on Tuesday night. Isabella is 4 feet 8 inches tall, 110 pounds. She has brown hair, and green eyes. If you know where either of these girls is, call 850-683-TIPS. That's 850-683-8477. A road in Coward's going to be closed for 3 days next week. Jester Street between Highway 84 and Miller Street is going to be closed while CXS Railroad crews work on a crossing. The closure will start Monday. It'll last through Wednesday. Alabama and Georgia are teaming up to study coyotes. It will be the largest study ever conducted on coyote behavior in the Southeast. Now, starting this month, professionals will trap the animals and put GPS collars on them. The coyotes will then be released. They'll be tracked to determine where they go and how they live. The study will continue for 2 years. The goal is to understand the threat that coyotes pose to wildlife. Now, researchers will also study DNA samples to determine their colonization routes. The study also includes South Carolina.
Well, it's that time of the year again. Girl Scout cookies are in. Hundreds of Girl Scout cookies were delivered to the Houston County Farm Center this morning. Troop leaders sorted the boxes, preparing for distribution, and now people can purchase these treats online. Troop leaders say it's more convenient for some people that way.
I've taken orders from different cities. I've got family other places, and then I've had to figure out the shipping and send it to them, and they send me the money. So this is a lot easier this way. They can just use their card, order their cookies, and it's done.
People who pre-ordered may see the Girl Scout cookies as soon as tonight. Others can buy the cookies from Girl Scouts located out in front of local big box stores.
Mm-hmm.
Yum.
Girl
I want a
Scout
cookie
cookies.
now.
I know. But unfortunately, we can't have one right now. We've got to turn our attention to weather. You know, it's a different story temperature-wise today in the Wiregrass. A little cooler.
It was. Let's go to Thomas now for our first check of your forecast. Thomas?
Yeah, it definitely was a little bit cooler. It'd be good to get some Girl Scout cookies and some coffee. So I think that would be a good idea for today. The clouds have stuck around. It has been just a little bit on the cooler side today. As we look at the satellite and radar, you can see that for the most part, we've just seen the clouds. We haven't really had to deal with any of those misting conditions like we did yesterday. But overall, just a gloomy day. And like they mentioned earlier, temperatures really haven't risen all that much. Started out in the mid-40s today, and we only topped out about 53 degrees. But as we take a look at the current Wiregrass temperatures into the low 50s. Here's a look at your nightly planner for tonight. If you're making your way outside, we're going to cool things off quite a bit as we head into midnight with a little chance of a rain. And temperature is going to cool down into the low 40s by the time we start tomorrow morning. Guys?
All right. Thanks a lot, Thomas. Leaders of key committees in the Alabama House going to be looking much the same as last year. House Speaker Mike Hubbard announced committee leaders at today's organizational session. Among them, Representative Steve Klaus of Ozark will once again chair the House Ways and Means General Fund Committee. Representative Mike Jones of Andalusia was appointed to lead the Judiciary Committee, replacing Paul DeMarco, and all committee leaders are Republican. Meanwhile, in his State of the State address this morning, Georgia Governor Nathan Deal urged lawmakers to take action on transportation and education issues facing the state. He didn't make any recommendations for how to pay for maintenance of the state's transportation system, but Deal did warn that doing nothing about the estimated $1 billion funding gap for transportation would harm the state's economy. He proposed new state powers to take over struggling schools. Contrary to previous years, though, Deal did not release his budget recommendations. He's expected to do that on Friday.
On Capitol Hill, Republican lawmakers moved a step closer to confrontation with the president over immigration. The House rolled a series of amendments into the funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security. As Craig Boswell tells us, they're aimed squarely at reversing the president's executive action on immigration.
The bill is passed.
The House approved a $40 billion bill funding the Department of Homeland Security, but Republicans attached a series of amendments to reverse President Obama's executive action on immigration.
We will keep our oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
The bill prohibits spending on the president's policy to temporarily halt the deportation of millions of undocumented workers. Lawmakers also narrowly voted to reverse the president's 2012 action granting work permits and protection from deportation for so-called dreamers brought to the U.S. illegally as children.
And as they peddle their malice about immigrants to pander to their base, they put our national security at risk.
Funding for the Homeland Security Department expires February 27th, and President Obama has promised to veto the House bill if it gets to his desk.
We'll remember your votes today.
Outside the Capitol, protesters greeted Republicans leaving town for an annual retreat.
Look, this is just a first step of a long process. So So I think it's a premature
Where does it go
decision.
now?
Goes to the Senate, and let's see what they can pass.
It will need 60 votes for Senate approval. Republicans admit that is unlikely and will likely face the issue again when they return to Washington. Craig Boswell, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
With passage in the Senate unlikely, Republicans from both chambers say they'll use their retreat to discuss what their next step should be if the bill dies in the Senate.
Well, do you absolutely have to have your smartphone with you at all times? Turns out there's a psychological reason behind that. We'll have more on that for you in a moment.
Plus, gas prices continue to fall across the Wiregrass. We'll take you to an area city where every station is below $1.90. But first, let's take a look at your Alpha Skycam. You're taking a live look at Enterprise on this Wednesday. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 4 at 5 with Reginald Jones, Natasha Chugtai, and meteorologist Nate Harrington.
In today's For the Consumer, drivers appear to be the big winner in a so-called gas price war in the western Wiregrass. In Opp, a gallon of gas will cost you less than $1.90 at every station. Flora shop owner Lynn Smith credits the lower prices with her most successful January ever. She believes people have more disposable income, which she says is really good for her bottom line.
They're wanting to spend more on things luxury things, because we're a necessity that they don't have to have. And it has helped the economy so much. This has been, our January has been great.
Today, the price for a gallon of gas in Opp ranged from $1.86 to $1.89.
So nice. Well, if you can't get to your smartphone when it rings or buzzes, does your heart start to race? Does your brain get a little fuzzy?
Do you start sweating? If you said yes, you might be experiencing psychological effects of being separated from your phone. Erica Edwards explains.
As a nation, we are drawn to our smartphones. How often do you check your cell phones?
Very often.
Yeah,
a couple times an hour.
Well, except for this guy.
Couple times a day.
That's it? Couple times a day? That's it?
Yeah.
For many others, the smartphone has become an extension of ourselves. In fact, a new study of iPhone users from the University of Missouri found anxiety, heart rate, and blood pressure all increased when people were not able to answer their mobile devices.
These prompts, they really get into our psychology somehow. When that thing buzzes, it's hard to resist.
They also apparently make it hard to think. Participants in the Missouri study did worse on simple word puzzles when separated from their phones.
If it was like across the room or something, I would probably be panicking.
The study was small but points to a larger issue.
We really have to start examining what kind of relationship we have with these devices and how attached we are.
That was Erica Edwards reporting. Now, here are a few tips to help break your bond with your phone. Silence it when you'd rather be concentrating on other things. You can also turn it completely off before bed to create boundaries between it and you.
President Obama wants expand access to broadband internet. His plan would expand access by increasing competition. The president says faster internet service will create jobs and allow local businesses to grow. He criticized laws in 19 states that he says stamps out competition, and he encouraged the Federal Communications Commission to preempt state laws that stifle competition for high-speed internet service. The president's plan is at odds with major cable and telephone companies like AT&T, Comcast, and Time Warner, who often have little or no competition. He says big companies are trying to keep out competitors.
I want to go back to the smartphone story.
I know, I want to talk about it too.
Yeah, you're one of those people that have to have yours around.
This is our difference. Right? You don't have your phone on me?
Mine's
on you?
No.
Mine's right here all the time.
All the time.
All the time. But it's off. Or it's on silent. It's not off.
It's not off. Are we going to see any sunshine the rest of the week? Well, Thomas will let us know his full forecast in just a moment.
He's a phone addict too, I've heard. Plus, researchers may have discovered a trick to get kids eating healthier lunches. It all has to do with timing. But first, here's a look at today's stocks.
from the Forewarned Storm Center, meteorologist Thomas Gieboy.
Well, it just seems like we haven't been able to get rid of the clouds for the last couple days, and that's going to persist at least for the next 24 hours, but we might see some clearing as we head later in the week. Possible rain on Thursday. We'll have more on that in just a little bit. And finally, like I said just a little bit ago, we'll be clearing out as we head into the weekend. Temperatures right now, though, across the entire southeast. You can see here in the Wiregrass, temperatures in the low 50s. That's a lot better than they are in Mississippi, where temperatures are into the 30s. So even though it's a little chilly outside, definitely one of the warmer spots across the southeast. Low temperatures as you wake up tomorrow and head out the door. Temperature is going to be quite cool. About 41 degrees, 42 is what we're going to go with. So if you are making your way outside, make sure that you have that jacket on, especially for the cold nature people. It'll be quite chilly outside. Story, though, will change as we head into the next 24 hours. So if you look back off to the west, you could see that some shower activity is beginning to ramp up, and it's making its way to the east, and that's because of a low pressure that's beginning to form in the Gulf. And as we move further in time, the rain showers are going to move over to the east and make their way here by this time Thursday, excuse me. But showers will be isolated and not going to see a full coverage of rain. And I wanted to go ahead and show you that on the high resolution model. As we go through tonight, expect more clouds. We might see a few breaks in the clouds, but then as we head into Thursday morning, that's when the rain chances really begin to increase. It's going to be on and off throughout the morning hours and as we head into your lunchtime hour. And then as we get into Thursday night, that's when we're finally expecting those showers to get out of here. And you can even see that for the most part, skies are finally going to clear out, which will be a very nice change of pace from where we have been. Temperatures the next 12 hours, going to be relatively mild for the next few, but then we're going to cool down quite a bit. Around 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, that's when temperatures are going to get pretty chilly into the low 40s. If you're headed to the Gulf tomorrow, there is a good chance of some rain for the areas that are closer to the Gulf. Those are the areas that we're expecting a better chance for rain. Not going to really warm things up that much either. Temperatures tomorrow are only going to top out into the low 50s. Some spots might not even see the 50s, so definitely going to be quite chilly as we go for tomorrow. Here's a look at your 5-day forecast, keeping the chance of rain until tomorrow, finally clearing things out as we head into Friday. And for most people, the 3-day weekend looks like it's finally going to be a good weekend. There's a slight chance of rain on Sunday with a front that's going to be moving through. Don't think there's going to be enough moisture with it. So I'm going to be a little optimistic there and go with only 10% with mostly sunny skies.
Okay. You said
like
3-day weekend.
I know, it's kind of like, wait a second. Well, in this business, you know, you kind of forget.
For normal people.
We're definitely not normal around here.
We're not in that bunch. All right. Thanks a lot, Thomas. Researchers say it may be time for a public health intervention when it comes to work. We'll explain that in a moment.
And a newly approved device is helping stroke patients reach the end of their roads to recovery. Both those stories ahead in For Your Health. In today's For Your Health, the more hours you spend at work, the more likely you are to drink too much. Researchers looked at 300,000 people who work more than 48 hours a week. Those people were 11% more likely to drink too much. For women, that was more than 14 alcoholic drinks each week. For men, it was 21. Researchers say risky drinking is associated with many diseases. They suggest regulating work hours could constitute a public health intervention. New technology is giving stroke patients more options. As Danielle Nottingham shows us, a new FDA-approved device is keeping patients on the road to recovery.
Stroke survivor Janet Johnson says she wasn't seeing results after years of traditional hand therapy.
I couldn't write very well. I couldn't type. And I was a super fast typist before.
Johnson heard about a study at the University of California, Irvine, testing a device called the Music Glove.
It's a musical game where you have notes coming at you, demanding you to keep moving every few seconds.
The glove has sensors that track a user's hand movements, mimicking pincer and pinch grips. These movements are key to regaining neurological function in the hand after a stroke.
You want to practice doing the things that are like the things that you want to be able to do in your daily life.
Researchers found patients using the glove made more progress than those using traditional stroke exercises, gaining 20 to 30% more motor function.
You can only, move a beam from left to right so many times. If they're not driven and they're not motivated, then they probably won't follow through and they won't change.
Users reported gaining the ability to open doors, wash dishes, and use silverware. Johnson says she was typing again 2 weeks after testing the glove.
It's not tedious, it's not boring, it's a lot of fun.
And now she's using her hand more than she ever thought possible. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, Irvine, California.
Researchers say repetition is one of the most important factors for regaining hand function, and music is naturally repetitive. A new study reveals kids who go to lunch after recess make healthier choices in the cafeteria. Researchers looked at kids who ate before and after recess. They found those who ate after playing wasted less food and ate 54% more fruits and veggies than those who ate before recess. Experts say this is probably because the kids are hungrier after recess and aren't rushing to eat to get more playtime. Interesting.
That is interesting. All right. Well, Thomas has a final check on the forecast for us in just a moment.
And these bears prove friendship isn't determined by what side of the forest you live on. That's next.
Coming up on WRGX News at 5:30, we talked to the family of the man who was shot and killed by police at the Dothan Animal Shelter. We have the exclusive interview. Plus, a dog that helps a Wiregrass boy with his disability is missing. We talked to his family about how you can help find her. Those stories and more when you join me and Kevin Presley for WRGX News at 5:30. Thomas?
Well, here's a final check on your forecast. Going to need to keep that umbrella at least until Thursday. And then once we head into Friday and the weekend, we're going to finally clear things out. Mostly going to see the sun on Saturday. Slight chance for rain heading into Sunday. Then we just clear things right back out heading into Monday. So for those with you with a 3-day weekend, go out and enjoy it.
All right.
Yeah, nice.
Well, finally, 2 black bears made the most of a recent hailstorm in China this week. An animal protection worker caught the bears playing on the ice Monday at a national park.
He believed one of them was wild. The 2 bears got along well and did not fight for territory, as is common. A short time later, the strange bear returned to the wild. How does he like being called the strange bear? He just looks like a cute little bear.
Well, he may have been.
He just wanted a friend.
He's just a little peaceful,
they don't know
calm.
it, but he may have been estranged and just decided to reunite.
All right, I like that.
How about that?
Okay, well, let's go with that.
I'm going with that.
Let's go with that for now.
That's News 4 at 5. Thanks for being here with us.
We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock.